Hello guys, and welcome to part 1 of a free part tutorial series that I'm doing on how I made this Instagram project here that you're seeing now. This is my original, and I will be making the blend files available on my Patreon, by the way. So this is intermediate level 1. I wouldn't say this is for absolute beginners. It might be a little bit tricky, and I will be going at a considerable pace with this. I will be covering everything, but I'm going to be going relatively quickly. So not necessarily a very beginner-friendly tutorial, but what we're going to be ending up with is this one here, which is the tutorial that I'm doing, this three-part series. Very similar, I just didn't polish it so much. Also, you should find your own kind of bread texture out there on the internet. I won't be providing textures, but you can easily find the textures online. I'll explain that a little bit. So without talking too much, I suppose we can get into this part 1. And once again, check all the stuff in the description. And yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so the new scene open up in Blender. I'm using Blender 2.9. We're going to select our default cube. We're going to tab into edit mode. And with all of these vertices selected, we're going to go S, X, 2 and hit enter. So we've scaled it along the X axis here by a factor of 2. We're now going to go to our face select option here. We'll select this face at the top, and then we're going to go S to scale it in a little bit like this, just to kind of slant it towards the top. We're going to come over here to our modifiers panel. We're going to give this guy a subdivision surface modifier down here. And then what we're going to do is, with this top face still selected, is we're going to hit I to inset this. So we're hitting I to inset. I'm going to come over here to our edge select option, and then we're going to go Shift Alt, click on this edge here, just to loop select this edge out here. We're going to go G, Z, and just bring it down a little bit like that. We're then going to come in here in the middle, hovering over here with our cursor. We're going to go Control R to add in a loop cut. Just double click. So it's added in a loop cut, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to select all of the vertices on this one side. So if you go to your front view, all of the ones to your left, you're going to go X and just delete those vertices. Let's give this guy a mirror modifier, and make sure to just drag this mirror modifier and drag it above the subdivision surface modifier, and make sure to enable your clipping as well. With clipping enabled, you'll see it's all kind of connected and isn't sliding away like it should be. Okay, so with that done, we're going to come over here back to our face select option. I'm going to select this bottom face, and we're going to go E to extrude that face down, and then we're going to go S to scale that face in, like that. Then you're going to go Control plus to grow the selection, and in your front view, we're just going to go G, Z, and just bring that up a little bit, like that. And once you've done that, we're going to go back to our edge select, and we're going to come in here with our cursor, Control R to add in a loop cut, double click, double G to slide it up to here, and then we're going to do the same thing here, Control R, because we don't want to slide it, so we've added in an edge loop there. And then what we can do is we can go here to our vertex select option. We're going to select this guy, holding Shift this guy and this guy as well, and then this guy here and this guy here. Then we're going to go G, Z, and just bring them up in like that, just like that. In fact, just grab these two here. Maybe just bring them down a bit. So we're just creating kind of like this inset here. We're going to go Control R to add another loop cut, double click, double G to slide it down to here. So just up here, and then we're going to go Control B, so Control B or Command B to bevel. I'm going to bevel it like this, and then roll your middle mouse button up once to add in an extra segment. And then we're going to just click, and then deselect, Shift Alt, click on this edge here to edge select, and then go Alt S to scale it in along its normals. So just like Alt S. And then when you come in here, Control R, double click, double G to slide in another edge to tighten that up. And you can do the same thing here, double click, double G to slide it up, adding in that edge loop. And just quickly tab out of edit mode, go to object and enable shade smooth. So you can see this is our toaster starting to form here. You can also just come here to your levels in the viewport and just bump it up to 2 as well. So let's just quickly go back into edit mode and just finish off our toaster. So go to our face select option here, and we're just going to select these top faces here, these guys here, and then we're going to hit E to extrude and then S to scale. So you don't want to hit I to inset, so E to extrude and S to scale. And then once you've done it, you can go E to extrude and extrude it down. Okay, that's the correct way. So we're going to bring it down about this much. And then we're going to go X, and we're going to delete those faces. So we've got something that looks like this. And now what we want to do is we want to go to edge select, and we're going to select this edge here, and then select this edge here, holding in Shift. We're going to go Shift D to duplicate them, and then hit F to fill in those two. And we're going to grab this edge here. We're going to go G, X, and move it closer towards the end. And then we're going to go E, X to extrude it up a little bit more, just to fill in that bottom. And then we're going to come in here, Control R. So you can see a loop appearing, and we're going to roll our middle mouse button to create two edge cuts here. Double click. And if those two edges still selected, we're going to go Control B again, or Command B, and bevel them. And we're going to roll our middle mouse button down to decrease the segment count. So just something like this. And then we can go S, and we can go Y, and just kind of scale them apart a little bit. So just these two slots here. And then we can come into here, Control R, double click, double G, just slide in another edge loop to about here. And then go to your face select here, select this face here, holding and shift select this face. And then we're going to go E to extrude, and we're just going to extrude it down. Then E to extrude down one more time, and then X, and then delete faces. And come in here, Control R, double click, double G, just slide in an edge loop. And you can do the same thing here, Control R, select these two and just move them up along the X, just to tighten those up. Okay, so now you can tab out of edit mode, go to object and enable shade smooth again. So we have our toaster coming together here. But for now, just to make things a little bit easier so we can see what's going on, let's just add some placeholder material. So we're just going to come here, click on the material slot, and we're going to, with the default material here, let's just come down to our viewport display. I'm just going to make it something like an orange or something for now. It doesn't really matter. Any color will do. Then we're going to click on a little plus, tab into edit mode, select an edge on this guy here, and hit Control L. This is going to select this loose plate here. And then we're going to go new and assign. Let's just call this material chrome. And let's go down to our viewport display and just drag the metallic slider up just so it looks like chrome. And then let's go into our front view, go into wireframe, and go to vertex select. Just select these bottom vertices, go Control plus, just to grow the selection a few times, to select this bottom part, and then assign that chrome material as well. So we've got that. Maybe just grow it one more time, and then assign. So you have this metallic chrome part at the bottom. And let's just add a few little more details. So I'm just going to actually select this plate, G, Z, just bring it up a little bit higher. I think that looks a bit better. And also just come in here, Control R, double click, and then go Alt S just to expand it out a bit, just to round this toaster a tiny bit. And let's come in here and model the little slider thing that pushes your toast down. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay, so what we're going to do in object mode is we're going to go Shift A. We're going to add in a cube. Then go to your front orthographic view, and you're just going to go G, move it over to the right, and then S to scale this guy down. Scaling it down, bringing it up to about here. Go to your right orthographic view, and it should be in the middle of your toaster as well. We're then going to just go into edit mode, and with this cube selected, we're just going to scale down these vertices. And then we're going to go to our modifiers here. We're going to give this guy a mirror modifier. Then we're going to go G, Y, and move it along the Y a little bit. We want to disable the X and enable the Y, since we are mirroring this on the Y axis. So we're going to move this guy out to about here, and then go to our face select. Select this face here, and then go E to extrude, and extrude it in. And if you enable clipping, and you go G, and you go Y, and move it in along the Y, it should clip to the other side. And then we're going to go X, and just delete that face inside of there. So once you've got this thing mirrored, in your front orthographic view, we're going to hit A just to select all of this, and then R to rotate it like this. Move it out a little bit more. And once you've done that, you can now select this face over here. And we're going to come here and just go in our front orthographic view, E to extrude, R to rotate it a little bit, and then we're going to extrude it one more time, and then extrude it again. So we're just extruding it down to here. So you can see what we're doing, that edge. We're going to extrude it one more time to about here, and then just a little bit more, so E to extrude. Then select this face here, and then E to extrude, and just snap those two together, hit X, and delete faces. So now we have this guy here. We can also go A to select everything, and then S, Y, and we can scale this along the Y to edit it a little bit as well. We can also go G, Y, and move it along the Y, but we want it to look something like this. And then we can also come here and give this guy a subdivision surface modifier. Control R, double click, double G, slide in an edge loop here, and just do the same thing here to tighten these up. tab out of edit mode, go to object and enable shade smooth. And you can also bump the levels in the viewport up a little bit. Oh, also give this guy that same chrome material. And in your edit mode, to make it look a little bit nicer, you can also just come in here in your front view and just select all of these faces at the back like that, and go X and delete faces, and that'll all look quite a lot better. You can bring these guys in a little bit as well. So just like this, creating this part. So once you've made that, we can then add in the little lever to go to pool. So that's simply just going to be a sphere. So we're going to go Shift A, just add in a UV sphere, just bring it over here, scale that guy down, and then tab into edit mode and go R90 with all of these selected in our front orthographic view. Select this vertex here, Control plus to grow the selection to about here, E to extrude a little bit, and then E to extrude, S to scale, and then E to extrude, then X and delete those faces. And let's give this guy a subdivision surface modifier. Go to object and enable shade smooth in object mode. And let's give this guy that same chrome material. We're going to go G and bring it in here like this. Okay, so you can edit around, you can edit this thing as much as you want. So in this case, I might just grow the size of this ball a little bit. Just mess around with it till you get kind of like a little lever thing that you like. So I'm just gonna maybe scale that guy down a bit, rotate it just so it fits in here. This doesn't have to be too fancy. You can kind of look at some reference images online to try and get like a style that works for your toaster. So I'm just gonna leave it at that for now. It looks okay. And then we're gonna hit A in object mode to select everything. G, Z, and we're gonna move it till it's sitting on our floor level here, so you can see. And then to make this look a little bit nicer at the bottom, we're going to go Shift A. We're going to add in a cube. And in our front orthographic view, we're going to go S, Z to scale it down to about here, and then S, X. Do it like this. Tab into edit mode, and then go S, Y, and scale that out along the Y. Go to your edge select this edge here, and then go S, X, scale it in along the X a little bit. Then go Control B to bevel. Okay, so maybe go into object mode first, Control A and just apply the scale. Then in edit mode, you can go Control B with those two corners selected and just roll in some loops, some segments. So we're gonna go something like this, tab out of edit mode, and then we're gonna go select this toaster. And on top of all of these here, we're gonna just add in a Boolean modifier, click on a little eyedropper, and then select this guy to be our Boolean. And then with this guy, we're also going to go Object and enable Shade Smooth. And then we're going to hit M, and we're going to go New Collection with that guy selected, and call this collection Cutters. Hit OK, and then come up here and just hide that cutter layer. Now this is looking a bit messy, so let's just grab this toaster and give it an edge split modifier on top of all of that. And if you want that to be the same color at the bottom, all you have to do is bring back that cutter and just give that cutter that same chrome material, then hide that, and that should fix that there. So just kind of, we're not really going to see the bottom side anyway. It just makes it look a little bit more like you would expect a toaster to look. You can also come and edit the edge split modifier angle here to fix some of that funny shading there. But still give you that nice sharp edge in here. Okay, so that is pretty much our toaster, and that was the more difficult modeling part. But what we're going to do next is we will model our toast, and then we'll model the little grabbers that will pick it up and put it back in the toaster. So to model the bread or the toast, it's going to be super simple. We're just going to go Shift A and add in a cube. You go to your right orthographic view, you're going to go G, Z, just bring this right above the toaster here, and then tab into edit mode. We're going to go S, Y, and scale it in along the Y. Now the thickness could be whatever you want it to be. It really depends on how thick you made the entry points over here on the toaster where you slide the toast in. So in this case, I'm going to go something like this. Looks like it'll work. Then I'm going to go to my top orthographic view by hitting 7, and then go S, X, and scale it down on the X. You can then tab out of edit mode and go G, Y, and just slot it over one of these holes here. And you can go G, Z, and just kind of move it up and down to see if it'll slide in there. Okay, so that should be okay. I might even make it a little bit smaller. Then in edit mode again, we can go in here, go into wireframe, just go into vertex, select these two top vertices, and I'm going to go G, Z, just bring them down to about here, and then E to extrude up, and then S, X, and scale it in a bit. Then I'm going to go Control R, double click, double G, just slide in an edge loop here, and Control R, double click, double G, slide one up like so. And let's give this guy a subdivision surface modifier. And we also need to come in here, Control R, double click, double G, slide in an edge loop here, and the same thing over here. Control R, double click, double G, slide one in there. And if you really want this to look good, you can go to your right orthographic view, go into wireframe, and just hit B and box select these front vertices. And then we're going to go to our edge select and just holding and shift deselect these edges in the inside. So we only want the outer edges selected. And we're going to go Shift E and create a seam or a crease to make that a little bit tighter. And then we're going to select the outside edges for this guy. So just select all the outside edges down here. And then we're going to go Shift E and just tighten up those seams as well. And then you can come back in here, Control R, double click, double G. I'm just sliding in an edge loop here and doing the same thing on the other side. It doesn't have to be exactly the same on both sides because it is bread. So you can make it as kind of random as you want, a little bit imperfect. So I'm just going to add some little details here. I would recommend you look up some reference images of bread and toast, and then just kind of model one that's your style that you're going for. So I'm not going to put too much into this one here, just keeping it really basic for this tutorial, just modeling some really super simple bread. So as you can see here, just making it look a little bit more natural. This will look also a little bit better once we add materials. But there we have it. Pretty much over here we have a slice of bread. You can go to object mode and enable shade smooth, and come over here to your subdivisions and just bump it up in the viewport as well. So here we have a basic loaf of bread. I know it doesn't look exactly fantastic, but I'm just gonna stop fiddling with it, just leave it at that. So there we have a slice of toast, as you can see, that can go in and out of our toaster. And you wanna make sure that your toast won't be so big that it penetrates through the bottom of your toaster. So something like this should be just fine for our little animation. I might just scale it down just a bit more, like that. And also with the toaster, I feel like I can grab the toaster and just go into edit mode and just go into vertex select, just select these top vertices and just go G, Z and just move that up a little bit. So I feel like the toaster is a little bit too short. So just something like that. And I'm gonna grab this bread here, go give it a new material. Let's just call this bread. And I come here to the viewport display, just give it a viewport display color that looks like bread kind of. And I click on a little plus again, go new, and I'm going to call this crust. And I'm going to make this crust kind of like a darker kind of brown color in the viewport display, but I'm going to go into edit mode, go to my face select, shift alt, click on this loop of faces here, control plus to go to selection once, and then I'm going to assign that crust material. So now we have the crust on the bread. Once again, this is not the most fantastic bread. You can definitely spend a bit more time to get some realistic looking bread. I'm just keeping it simple for this tutorial. Okay, so let me just reevaluate this. We have our toaster, we have our bread here. So let's just quickly model in a little scene. So I'm going to go Shift A, just add in a cube, just bringing this guy down, scaling it a bit. So you can spend as much time as you want on this. We're just creating kind of like a little scene for our toaster to sit in, a little animation. I'm just going to give this box here that it's sitting on a bevel modifier, and you can mess around with this amount, make it whatever you want. I'm just going to go something like that. Go to object, enable shade smooth, then go Shift A, just add in a plane, scale it up about this much, G, Z, bring it down to here, S, X, scale it along the X, and then what else could we model? Okay, so let's make the little backdrop here. So we're just gonna go Shift D with this guy selected, and then go RX90, G, Y, move it back, and then scale it up a bit. And then go Control A, apply to scale. Tab into edit mode, and then we're gonna go to our edge select here. Control R, roll in some edges here. double click, then Control B to bevel those edges that are selected, and decrease the segment count by rolling your middle mouse button to 1 segment, like that, and then go Control minus to shrink the selection, and then go G, Y, and just move it forward a bit like that. Tab out of edit mode, and let's give this guy a subdivision surface modifier, go to object mode and enable shade smooth. So now we have that backdrop like that, that background. And then adding in a camera is super simple. So we're going to come here, we're going to go Shift A, add in a camera. And this is completely up to you. So just position your camera how you like. I've covered this, how to move a camera around in many tutorials, so I won't go into detail in this video. But what I would recommend is come to your camera settings, making the focal length something like 125, and then coming over here to your output settings and making the Y resolution 1920 and the Y as well. And now your camera is a square aspect ratio, but this is kind of what I went for with my original. It's just something that I like, but you can definitely make it as whatever you want. You can go for like a widescreen look or anything, but I'm going to go with this because it's how I do things for Instagram. So maybe just like that. You can fiddle around with it as much as you want. I might even come here and bump up the focal length to 185. Okay, I like that a lot more, so that's looking cool. And I go with something like this. So here we have our camera setup, and what we need to do now, of course, I've remembered this, we obviously do need to model the little crane or little grabber that comes up and down to move the bread and the toast. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our right orthographic view, and we're going to select this bread here, and we're going to go give it a mirror modifier. But what we're going to do is we're going to come here to the little eyedropper, select it, and we're going to select the toaster here. Disable the X-axis and enable the Y. So now the toaster is our reference for now, just temporarily to mirror the toast. So you can see if we bring this guy down, the other one goes into the opposite hole perfectly because both of these are mirrored around a point, as you can see here. Okay, so once we have them here, we can now model in our right orthographic view the little grabber. So we're going to go Shift A in our right orthographic view, add in a cube, and go G, Z, bring it up, and just simply scale that guy down like this until it's fitting in between here. Tab into edit mode and go to your vertex, select in wireframe, just select these two at the top, go G, Z, or maybe disable proportional editing as well. G, Z, bring this guy up to here. And then what you want to do is go E to extrude it again, and then we're going to go SY, maybe even a bit more, like that, bring it down, and then we're going to go E to extrude again. So we have this part that looks like this. Let's just fit it in there. And you go to your front view, and we're going to select these guys at the top, and we're going to go S, X, and just scale it along the X like that. So we should have something that looks just like this. And we're going to go to our face select here, select this face here and this face, and then go E to extrude it like that. But to make this a bit easier, we're also going to go Control R over here, double click, and then we're going to go V, and that's going to cut it, bring this over, then just select this guy here, hit X and delete vertices. And then we're going to come over here and go Control R, double click, and hit V to cut that, bring it over here, and just delete that part. So we only have a quarter of this guy, and we're going to give it a mirror modifier. Oops, a mirror modifier. We're going to mirror it on the X and Y axis, and make sure to enable clipping. So now whatever we edit over here will mirror on both axis points, like that. So this is for now tab out of edit mode. We're now going to go Shift A, and we're going to add in a cylinder. We're going to go G, Z, bring this guy up, and then S to scale it. Keep bringing it up, place it right about here. Go to object mode and enable shade smooth. Tab into edit mode and go to your face select, and then select this face here. And then go E to extrude, S to scale, like that, and then E to extrude it up. We're making this big bar, so just bring it up till it's out of a camera view, something like that should be fine. Then just also give it an edge split modifier just to clean that shading up a bit. And once again, this is just a tutorial. I would recommend you come in here, make this look however you want, add in some little details, maybe some washers, just anything that adds interest to your scene. But for now, I'm just going to leave it at this, and I'm going to go back to this guy here. And once again, because we mirrored it on 2 access points, it's going to be much easier for you guys to do modeling on here. So that's a useful little thing. So if I wanted to maybe bring this guy in like this edge, just to add a little bit of a profile, you can see it mirrors on all the access points, which just makes things a little bit easier. But with that all done, I'm also going to give this guy a bevel modifier. I'm going to come over here to the limit method and make sure it is set to angle. And then I'm going to just bump up the segment count. Now, if it's too big of a bevel, you can decrease the size or increase this, but I'm just going to go something like this. And then tab out of edit mode, go to object and enable shade smooth. So there is that part. So this is kind of the little part that sandwiches in between here. But what we need is these 2 little grabber arms that are going to grab the bread. Okay, so to make that, what we're going to do is we're going to select this guy here. And we're going to tab to edit mode. I'm going to come here and select this face, select option, and we're going to select this face here, Shift D to duplicate it, and then we're going to go G, and we're going to go Y and move it forward a bit, and then S to scale it down. Then we're going to go G, X, and move it in a little bit, just so we have this face here. Then we're going to go E to extrude it forward, like this. Then go to your right orthographic view, so you want to go roughly right about here. And then we're going to go E to extrude it again, like this. Then go and select this bottom face and go E and extrude that down like this. And then we're going to select this face here and then go E to extrude it out. And then S, Z, and scale it down to Z, and just bring this down a little bit more. Just like that. So now what we're going to have is this guy here, which can slide in and out. So in fact, if you go to your right orthographic view, you can kind of see how this would work, like that. Okay, so that's how it would work. So let's just bring it in to about here. Just put it there. Okay, so tap out of edit mode now. And here you can see this is what we have. In fact, we can also grab this guy while we have it, holding in Shift, select this rod, and then go Control P. We're going to go Object and keep Transform. So now this guy here is parented to this. So if we grab this guy here, you can see that follows along, which is exactly what we want. And you can always come in here anytime, and because it's mirrored, it's super easy to add in little details. So you can maybe bring these grabbers out a little bit more, maybe bring them in. Completely up to you how you want to add details to this. Maybe even what I think would work would be to kind of even flatten that out a little bit and move it in. That looks a lot cooler. Yeah, just something like that looks super cool. Okay, so you can kind of get the idea, like I said before, of how this is going to work. Okay, so I think that is everything. Oh yeah, just give this that same chrome material, and the same with the rod here. Just give it that chrome material. Okay, so let's go to a camo view, and let's just add temporary placeholder materials for the rest of the items here. So with this guy here, let's just give it a material, and let's call it floor. And let's just give it a color in the viewport. So I'm just going to go something like that. It can be anything, just so we see a material has been applied. And this is going to be helpful later. And let's just select the floor and give it that same floor material. So just both these items down here have that floor material. And then we're going to grab this guy here, go new, the background. Let's just call it BG for background. And let's just give it its own material as well. It can be anything. So just so we see we have some materials added to our scene. And once you are happy with your modeling and your camera setup, what we're going to do in the next video, which is going to be part 2, which you can find in the description below, we'll be doing our animation, and then hopefully we'll after that get into our lighting and materials.